It all seems like a dream. Experiencing Sri Lanka as I did, going in completely blind, having no idea of its political affiliation, no sense of history. I'd be lost if someone handed me a globe. A completely blank slate, an unbiased mind diving into the depths of a foreign reality. I was just thinking about when I first bought my plane ticket, sitting in Griffin Hall trying to predict the ever-fluctuating price of the $1,000+ plane ticket, deciding the dates we were going to be in country. It was the moment when everything got really real. It was like I just signed an unbreakable contract. Leaving that room, knowing all the things I was going to miss during our stay in Asia, was difficult to come to terms with. But it seemed as if the taste of adventure outweighed the repetitive nature of summer in northern Kentucky.
You know what it is? We're out here drinking, volleying, doing our damn thing.
Aside from convincing myself this was a good idea, convincing the ones around me seemed even more difficult. I sat through my girlfriend's tears and the nagging of how afraid my mother was of me being kidnapped. I was going to miss so many events and celebrations while I was gone. 7 days before we left, a major flood hit the southern region of Sri Lanka, killing over 200 people, right where we anticipated on being the first week of our stay. All of these variables tell me that I shouldn't go. So many reasons to just shake the idea of international study off like a stoned idea. Luckily, the faith and determination of my colleagues and a few inebriated guys at a local bar gave me the confidence to continue with my decision to travel to Asia. From Cincinnati to Washington, D.C., to London, to the capital city of Sri Lanka, Colombo, the journey took us well over 20 hours, an experience in itself. Our first day in country, we explored the streets of Colombo, a melting pot of a city inhabited by those all over the religious spectrum. I've heard of the civil wars and political unrest that have taken place in country, but everything seemed harmonious. The streets were filled with people buying, selling, trading, eating, laughing, praying. For a moment, it seemed that the natural human bond was stronger than any religious or political affiliation. Spending only a day or so in Colombo, it was time to hit the curvy roads. It didn't take long to reach the southern end of the country. To utilize that time, we explored some of the many amazing aspects of the country. A turtle rescue center, a boat ride that took us to Cinnamon Island, the finest seafood I've ever had, and of course, a gem farm for souvenirs. I couldn't shake the feeling that in some way our handler was hustling us. Like I had a stamp on my head that said white American tourist, twice as gullible as a European tourist. Although the drive was beautiful, I didn't want to be a tourist. I wanted to experience the culture, to fully submerge myself into a foreign way of living, to be thrown to the lions. And although there weren't any lions, we did come across some monkeys. The thirst for adventure has yet to be quenched. The numerous layers of adrenaline continue to recycle throughout my figure. It was time to go surfing. I wish I could say I lived up to my promise that I would spend the rest of my life on the beaches of Argum Bay, forever surfing the time away. A promise conceived by utter bliss, a piece of heaven so close to home. I left a part of me at that beach, but took an even bigger piece with me. That part of me sits in the pocket of a young Muslim man, like a sliver of paper that has the potential to lead to altered states of consciousness.
I remember from last night. Yes.
Rishwan was my surf instructor and we became good friends. He showed me around and introduced me to his family and friends the night before. I connected with them like I would my companions back home. As they couldn't speak much English, we communicated with laughter, gestures, movement, energy. They referred to me as family and treated me like a brother. The color of my skin, the language I spoke, my religious beliefs, the money in my pocket, none of it mattered. The only thing that anyone seemed really concerned about was getting to the beach at sunrise to catch that first wave. I've never surfed before, so what better way to give it a try than in the Indian Ocean, on the opposite end of the globe. The nerves began to set in during our tuk-tuk ride to the beach. Backing down wasn't an option, but my biggest concern was how much salt water was about to enter my lungs. After a quick on-land run-through, Rishwan sent me into the ocean to accept fate. Leaving that beach and seeing Argum Bay in the rearview mirror was a blue moment. I told Rishwan I'd come visit him and his brothers in the future, that we're going to surf and drink Iraq all night. He seemed hopeful, so who am I to break a promise? Off to our place of study, Kandy, the place we were going to spend the next week and a half doing media work with the students of SIBA, the Sri Lankan International Buddhist Academy. Kandy wasn't like any of the places we've been. It was a hub city focused on education. The streets were filled with students in the morning and afternoon rushing between their homes and class. The evenings belonged to worship and market runs. As we were helping document the epic Buddhist dance drama our colleague Sir Professor Daryl Harris was writing and directing at SIBA, we spent most of our time with the Venerable Mahinda, a very wise monk who was more than willing to show us around his home, Sri Lanka. The most memorable experience was partaking in worship at the Temple of the Sacred Tooth. Mahinda, living up to his venerability, got us into the most praised area of the temple, the room that housed the ancient tooth relic. Filled with dazzling jewels and gold, the relic was an impressive piece of worship. We meditated for a moment, and then went on to explore and listen to Mahinda's many Buddhist philosophies. This is a moment that I will always cherish. I still wear the white string Mahinda tied around my wrist as a blessing. I could go into the experience, but in situations as such, words do no justice. An awakening of spirituality blossomed deep inside my core, a moment I often think back to when I feel worried, stressed, or anxious. A powerful moment in time that I will forever carry with me. Experiencing Kandy like we did was incomparable. Working with the teachers, learning with the students, creating with the community, connecting on such a deep level with people of such an unfamiliarity, it made the unknown more comfortable. The fear people experience, the fear that dictates policies, cultures, and faith, mitigate it through the desire to create, to learn, to grow. Leaving Kandy, like most goodbyes, was bittersweet, but I was in no rush to get back to the States. We still had a couple of days left in country, but departure was beginning to loom. We were to be sure to utilize every last moment in Sri Lanka, even if that meant pondering in a hammock by the ocean or eating a tuna sandwich while watching elephants get bathed. We packed a lot of adventure into those last few days, just adding to the overall surreal vibe we had going on. On the last day, I needed a beer. The angst of returning to the staticness of everyday life was grim. There was a hint of sorrow in saying farewell to such a new place, a new way of life. Still so much to see, so much to do, so much to eat. How can one leave these hidden realms so unexplored, enthralled by whatever secrets hide in the mountains of foreign land? How great it would be to celebrate this newfound exploration and mourn such a sour goodbye with the hoppy goodness of a lion stout. But it was the last day of Ramadan, and it wasn't very recommended to be caught drinking alcohol. What an unfamiliar way of going about things. It made me think of how we always tend to be looking for something else, how we're always in a rush for the next thing. But what's the point of this lust for satisfaction, this race to the finish, when in reality, the most beautiful moment in time is constantly surrounding us?